If you're watching this on Legacy of Survival, you're about to uncover one of the most overlooked yet essential survival skills from World War II. Before we dive deep, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This isn't just history. This is practical knowledge that helps soldiers, resistance fighters and civilians survive in the harshest conditions. Today, we're going to explore the forgotten World War II survival tool, the ability to create fire from almost anything, a skill that was often a matter of life or death. During World War II, fire wasn't just for warmth or cooking, it was a tactical advantage. Soldiers behind enemy lines, partisans in occupied territories, and civilians hiding in forests had to improvise constantly. Matches ran out, lighters failed, and yet some men and women could start a fire in near impossible conditions. Their methods were born out of necessity, resourcefulness, and deep knowledge of materials around them. These aren't myths. They are documented survival techniques that you can apply today, whether you're a history enthusiast, a survivalist, or simply someone who wants to respect the ingenuity of our predecessors. You can create fire even without modern tools by understanding friction and sparks. The first method to understand is the creation of fire through friction. This is not your weekend camping trick. This is the real technique soldiers and resistance fighters relied on when stranded in the wild. One of the most effective tools was the bow drill, a method that uses a spindle, a hearthboard, and a bow to generate heat through friction. Soldiers in Eastern Europe would often carve these tools from soft woods they found in forests. By spinning the spindle rapidly against the board, they created fine black powdery dust, which, if handled correctly, would ignite into a small ember. The ember could then be transferred to dry moss or leaves to produce a sustainable flame. It's not just about wood. Wartime ingenuity extended to using almost anything available. Metal scraps, lens from eyeglasses, even steel from abandoned weapons could be combined with sparks from flint stones to ignite tinder. The key was understanding materials, what burns quickly, what holds a spark, and how to protect a fledgling ember from wind or moisture. For example, German soldiers often carried small packets of charcloth, cotton fabric charred to perfection, which could catch a spark from a flint in seconds. Civilians learned to create their own charcloth from scraps of fabric, showing that fire creation was not just a military skill, but a civilian survival strategy. Another critical lesson from the Second World War survival, is the improvisation of tinder. Soldiers in the field often had to start fires in wet conditions, and, the difference between life and death could be whether they understood what materials would ignite under duress. Old newspapers, dried moss, pine resin, or even the inner bark of certain trees were absolutely invaluable. Resistance fighters in occupied France discovered that cotton from clothing, shredded and dried, could be twisted into wads of tinder. One documented account tells of a partisan lighting a fire inside a hollow log, using only the resin from pine cones and a spark from a steel blade. The takeaway here is that survival fire is less about the tools and more about the knowledge of materials. Once you understand the burn properties of what's around you, you can improvise fire almost anywhere. Even in modern times, knowing how to make char cloth or to twist fibres into tinder can keep you alive in extreme circumstances. Think of it as applied history, a lesson you can use today from methods perfected during the Second World War. History also teaches us adaptation. World War II survivors often combined techniques using friction, sparks and chemical reactions to ensure a reliable fire source. For example, magnesium shavings from aircraft parts or flares were combined with dry grass or moss to create a high-intensity ignition source. Soldiers learned that while friction might work in theory, a small addition of a reactive material increased reliability dramatically. Today, survivalists can mimic this approach safely by understanding which modern and historical materials are compatible. You could carry a small piece of steel wool or a magnesium fire starter in a survival kit and ignite it using a simple battery, essentially blending Second World War ingenuity with contemporary resources. Finally, fire was more than warmth. It was communication. In dense forests or occupied regions, the way smoke behaved became a language. Resistance fighters and soldiers often used specific patterns of smoke to signal each other. Creating fire from anything, even under rainy conditions, wasn't just about survival. It was a method of maintaining operational effectiveness and safety. Knowing how to produce and control fire in these conditions is a skill that transcends time. It teaches patience, observation and resourcefulness, the same qualities that saved lives during the Second World War. Fire is one of the most fundamental survival tools, yet it's a skill that many have lost in the age of lighters and matches. By studying how Second World War soldiers and civilians created fire from almost anything, we gain not only historical knowledge, but actionable skills for survival today. Whether you want to impress at a historical reenactment, strengthen your survival abilities, or simply understand the resourcefulness of people during the darkest days of human history, these techniques are indispensable. So, if you found this guide useful, make sure to subscribe to Legacy of Survival for more deep dives into historical survival techniques. Share this with fellow history enthusiasts and survivalists who want to learn how our ancestors turned scarcity into ingenuity. Understanding these forgotten tools isn't just about history. It's about preparing yourself to adapt and thrive, just like the people who survived against all odds during World War II.